Hi, Hilda from Craftatilia here. Today I'd like to share with you a little bit about yarn spinning. So this would be some samples of yarn spun from the same fibers. You can see that they are of different thickness. You have control over how thick you want your yarn to be when you are the one spinning the yarn. So let's take a look at what you start with when you're spinning yarn. So we begin with loose fibers such as this. So this is a little bit of wool roving that has been prepped. So when you get wool from the source, after you shear the sheep, you would have to wash it, you have to comb it, you have to process it, and this is what you get. So we start with this. Now, fiber that has not been twisted, or rather not been spun, is very loose. It can be pulled apart very easily. However, if you add twists by spinning it in a single direction, you are adding strength to the fiber. So now you can't pull it apart easily. So if you were to increase the strength, you just need to ply it. Rather, you add 2 or more of the same yarn that you have made together, and this makes a multiply yarn. Right, so to get started, let's take a look at some tools that you can use. So in our studio, we generally start people off with the drop spindle. So it is a very simple tool. It is also very affordable, and because it's so portable, it is very easy for you to do your practice or your yarn spinning wherever you are. This will easily fit in the bag. Right, so normally when it comes, it doesn't have a leader. We attach this, what we call a leader. It's just a string, and then you would attach it, and then you start to spin. So you would twist the handle like this to add twists to the yarn. So let me give you a very quick demo of how you can do that. So you've got the leader, and I've got some fiber here. So I will tug on the fibers to loosen it and to spread it out to the thickness of the yarn I want to make, and then put it through the loop in the leader, and I start spinning. So as you are spinning it, the twist is being collected within the string, and it will be transferred to the fiber. So once I've collected enough twists, I will transfer the twist, let the twist travel up, and then fiber is then twisted, and you've made yarn. So you can continue to add twists, and this bit of fiber that is loose, you would draft until it is similar thickness to the yarn that you want to make, and then you allow the twist to travel up. So the thickness of the fiber that you draft would determine how thick your yarn is. So as you are making the yarn, you would be winding it onto the shaft. You shorten it so that you can do the twisting and the spinning and the drafting at the same time. Right, so then you can use this yarn as a singles. You can also ply it together with another length of yarn to make a 2-ply yarn. You can also ply it with another 2 and then make it a 3-ply yarn. So the number of plies is really up to you, and you have control over how thick, how tight the twist is for the yarn that you are making. So these are basically very simple tools. There are also what you call support spindles. So those spindles, they spin, but they spin on a surface, and you generally need like a little bowl or a tabletop for you to rest the spindle on. So they are of slightly different design. We also use spinning wheels, and so let's take a look at some spinning wheels that we have in the studio. The spinning wheel that I'm using now is the King Bee from Spinolution. So all spinning wheels work on a gear system where every step that you make on the treadle turns the gear a few rounds, and that multiplies the effect it has on the actual spinning wheel, and then you will have that number of turns that is made as a multiple on the flyer head, and that in turn would twist the yarn, and the yarn that is being made will get fed into the bobbin and wound onto the bobbin automatically because of the tensioning system it has, and that's how a spinning wheel works. So generally speaking, a spinning wheel can allow you to make yarn faster compared to a drop spindle. It can also allow you to make yarn that is finer. So example, the yarn that I'm spinning now is going to be lace weight, and this is slightly more challenging on the drop spindle as there's gravity to deal with and the weight of the drop spindle acting on the yarn itself. Whereas when you're using the spinning wheel, because the yarn is twisted horizontally, there is no weight of the spindle acting on the yarn. You find that the yarn is made more easily. It doesn't break as easily when you are spinning. So let's take a look at a close-up of how the flyer head works. Alright, so this is a close-up of the flyer head. As a treadle, the wheel turns, and this would in turn cause the flyer head to turn a certain number of turns per treadle. The yarn gets made when the fiber is twisted. So the yarn forms and is wound onto the bobbin automatically. There is a certain amount of tension that you adjust, and that would determine the type of yarn that you make. So how you control the thickness of the yarn is really by the amount of fiber that you draft forward to take up the twist. So with my right hand, I'm pulling the fiber forward, and I control how much fiber I pull forward to make the yarn. The yarn that I'm currently spinning on this is a lace weight. So if I were to stop, you can take a look at the yarn that is being spun. Right? So this is where it is all collected on the bobbin. As you can see, the spinning wheel is a much larger piece of equipment compared to the drop spindle. So we are always mindful of space constraints when we are looking at spinning wheels to bring into our studio. Quite a few of our spinning wheels have either slim profiles or they actually fit into designated carry-on bags. And we also have this series where it actually folds up into a very compact state. So when you're done spinning, all you have to do is to pull this lever, so the whole thing tucks up into a very compact version of it, and this actually fits into a carry-on case for easy storage. Right, let's take a look at some samples of hand-spun yarn. This mini skein I have here is made of 100% merino. The resulting yarn is fingering weight. It is very soft and squishy. This is also undyed, so it's in its natural color. So here I have a skein of multicolored yarn. So this was actually spun using a roving yarn that I found in a store. It was very chunky and I didn't know what to do with it, so I decided to spin it up instead, to turn it from the big chunky yarn into something like this. So this was plied onto itself, giving rise to the multiple color combinations that you see in the yarn. This other half of the yarn that I spun up, instead of plying onto itself, I plied it with a single of undyed wool. So it gives rise to the bubble pole look. So it changes up the look of the yarn, even though these were from the same roving yarn, because of how it was plied, either with itself or with something else. it changes up the look of the yarn completely. This next braid here is a sample of soy yarn. So the soy fiber, 100% soy fiber was used to create the yarn. Soy has got a natural sheen. It is also very soft, very slippery, and it is certainly something you could consider for the local weather because it is very cool to the touch. Right, for the next samples, these are the two samples we have. They are both from the same indie dyer, and the blend is 50% merino, 50% tencel. So for the pink one, as you can see, this was done earlier, so there's more inconsistency in the thickness of the yarn. You can see more areas of thick and thin occurring throughout the yarn. So to get this, I separated the braid into half, then I spun up each half and then plied them together to get this particular mix. The blue one was done at a later time. It was about 2 months later. So you can see that with more practice, the yarn is looking a lot more consistent where thick and thin is concerned. And this was also longer yardage. So the pink one, I had about 600 yards from the 100-gram braid. The blue one had about 800 yards. Right, this last sample, I'd like to show you what you can do with leftover yarn. So I had some yarn left over from the singles that I spun up. So after plying the two together, I had some left over because I had more of the singles on one bobbin. So I decided to ply this with a sparkly thread. You can see this is just a metallic sewing thread, and this makes a completely different yarn from the other one that was used to weave up a scarf. So if you have yarn that is left over from a project at home and you have no idea what to do with it, you can combine 2 or 3 or more different yarns together by plying them on either the drop spindle or the spinning wheel to create new yarn, and gives it new life. Right, so we've looked at what yarn spinning is, the tools that you use to create yarns, as well as some samples of hand spun yarn. So some of you might still be asking, why do you want to create your yarn this way, where it is tedious, it's time consuming, you need a lot of practice to get consistency? All these questions are valid, and I think for yarn spinners, the idea of being able to create something that is uniquely yours, where you have absolute control over the fiber, the weight of the yarn, what you want it to look like, and being able to create one-of-a-kind yarn for your unique project is something very satisfying. Yarn spinning has got a lot of rhythm to it, because as you are twisting, spinning, as you are treadling, this rhythmic processes often is very calming and soothing, and it is often described as a therapeutic process. And for those who have taken yarn spinning classes with us, they often describe it as an addictive process too. So if you are interested in yarn spinning, do take a look at the information we have on our website and get in touch with us if you are keen to take up a yarn spinning class.